Hey, welcome to WTF History, where we dig into the wildest, most jaw-dropping stories from the past. And today we're diving into a tale so twisted it'll leave you questioning everything you thought. You knew about power, madness, and what happens when an emperor decides he can defy death itself. Picture this. It's June 67 AD, and you're standing in the Palatine throne room in Rome. The air's heavy with incense. The bronze doors slam shut, and 300 senators are packed in, their silk robes rustling with nervous energy. Every eye is glued to the altar where Emperor Nero stands, draped in a flame-colored bridal veil, not as the groom, but as the bride. Beside him is a figure so delicate, so eerily familiar, it sends a chill through the room. Nero lifts the veil, and the truth hits like a lightning bolt. This isn't a woman. This is Sporus, a young boy transformed through unthinkable means to resemble Nero's dead wife, Poppaea Sabina. A senator's wine cup crashes to the marble floor, shattering the silence. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Nero's voice booms. "Behold, senators of Rome, my beloved Poppaea has returned to me." This is the story of Nero's descent into madness, a boy's erasure, and a city forced to applaud the impossible. How does a ruler go from eccentric to unhinged, from emperor to monster? Why would he force a boy to become his dead wife? To understand, we need to go back 2 years, to a moment that broke Nero's mind and set Rome on a path to insanity. So, grab a seat, maybe dim the lights, because this is going to be a wild ride. Let's step into the shadows of Rome. It's the summer of 65 AD, and the imperial palace is a tomb of whispers and dread. The marble floors are slick with blood, no matter how frantically. The slave scrub. In the emperor's bedchamber, a shattered wine amphora lies in pieces, its contents mixing with darker stains. Poppaea Sabina, Nero's empress, is dead, her 8-month pregnant body, twisted on the bed, bearing the brutal marks of Nero's rage. The emperor kneels beside her, his toga splattered with wine and worse, his knuckles swollen and split. "Get up," he whispers, his voice trembling with desperation. "Stop this game." But Poppaea will never rise again. Servants huddle in doorways, their faces pale with terror. They'd heard the fight escalate from the dining hall. Poppaea's sharp voice accusing Nero of neglecting his duties for his theatrical obsessions. Then came the crash of furniture, Nero's roar, and the sickening thuds that followed. Senator Petronius arrives, his face draining of color. "Divine Augustus," he breathes, "what have you done?" Nero's eyes blaze with something beyond anger, something broken. "She provoked me." He snaps. "She knew I hate criticism of my art." His voice cracks. "She knows I hate it." The physician confirms the truth. Poppaea and her unborn child are dead, killed by Nero's hands. But Nero doesn't grieve like a normal man. He throws himself across her body, screaming, "No, you can't leave me. I forbid it. I am emperor." The guards exchange terrified glances. They've seen his rages, his performances, but this is different. A mind splintering under the weight of guilt and denial. For 3 days, he locks himself in the chamber with her corpse, refusing food, refusing to let anyone take her. Servants hear him talking to her, singing to her, begging her to wake up. When he finally emerges, his appearance shocks the court. His hair is wild, his eyes red-rimmed, but the worst is his smile. "She's not really gone," he tells the senators, his voice eerily calm. "Poppaea could never truly leave me." The funeral is unlike any Rome has seen. Instead of cremation, Nero orders Poppaea's body embalmed like an Egyptian queen, her veins filled with spices, her form wrapped in Syrian silk. She admired Eastern customs, he says to horrified priests. She'll appreciate this. The Senate watches in stunned silence as their emperor descends into grief-fueled madness. Senator Thracia mutters, "He's lost to us now. Completely lost." In the weeks that follow, Nero's obsession grows. He commissions hundreds of statues of Poppaea, placing them throughout the palace. Servants find him dining with them, talking to marble as if it's alive. Her clothes remain untouched, her cosmetics preserved, her chambers a shrine. "She visits me," he tells his freedman Epaphroditus. "At night, she forgives me. It was an accident." The freedman nods, his eyes blank. What else can he do? Nero's desperation takes a darker turn. He summons women to the palace, dresses them in Poppaea's clothes, but none are right. "The eyes are wrong," he rages. "The voice is wrong." The women flee in tears, if they're lucky. Then come the dreams. Nero wakes screaming. She's angry. She wants to come back. He consults mystics, who feed his delusion, claiming Poppaea needs a vessel to return. The court physician, Xenophon, tries to reason with him. Grief is natural, Caesar, but the dead cannot return. Nero's response chills the room. "Cannot? I am a god. If I say the dead return, they return." His obsession consumes him. He neglects the empire, spends hours tracing Poppaea's death mask, whispering, "I'll find you. I'll bring you back." That's when they find Sporus. It's a banquet like any other, the palace glittering with excess, senators pretending everything's fine. Sporus, a boy of 15 or 16 from Corinth, bends to fill Nero's wine cup, a strand of dark hair falling across his face. The lamplight catches his delicate features, and Nero's hand shoots out, gripping his wrist. Wine splashes across the table. "Stop," Nero commands, his voice strange, urgent. The hall falls silent. "Turn your head. Left. Now right." Sporus obeys, confusion etched on his face. Nero rises, circles him like a predator. The nose, the lips, the shoulders, he mutters. "Poppaea." Whispers erupt. Everyone knows the empress has been dead for months. But Nero's eyes brook no argument. "Name," he demands. "Sporus, divine Caesar. From Corinth." Nero's grip tightens. "Your true name, the one you're hiding." Sporus seeks help, finds none. The other slaves back away. They know that look in their master's eye. Nero drags Sporus from the hall, the banquet abandoned. Senator Tigellinus whispers, "Does he truly believe?" "Quiet," Petronius hisses, "unless you want to join the boy." In Nero's chambers, the examination continues. He makes Sporus walk, speak, turn, each movement exciting him more. "The gods are mocking me," he mutters, sending her back in this form. Sporus protests, "Caesar, I'm just a page. I know nothing of the empress." Nero's hand cracks across his face. "Don't lie. I see her in you." Sporus touches his cheek, tears held back. Weakness means death, or worse. Nero calls for his physicians, the best surgeons in the empire. "Bring them now," he orders. Word spreads. The emperor has found a boy who looks like his dead wife. And he's planning something unthinkable. Sporus is moved to luxurious quarters, a golden cage with guards at every door. His old life vanishes. Xenophon arrives with specialists from Alexandria and Persia, their faces neutral as Nero outlines his demands. He must be perfect, he insists. Every detail. The gods send him incomplete. You will finish their work. The medical wing is a place of nightmares, hidden behind thick walls that muffle screams. Sporus is led there at dawn, his legs trembling, wine laced with poppy tears dulling his terror, but not his awareness. Nero wants him, conscious, to understand the gift he's receiving. The chamber is a blend of precision and horror. Polished tables, worn leather straps, bronze instruments gleaming in lamplight. A brazier glows with heated irons, the air thick with metal and dread. Xenophon stands with his team, 4 Alexandrian surgeons and 2 Persian specialists, masters of reshaping flesh. Nero watches from a throne he's had, installed, his eyes glittering. "Begin," he commands. They strap Sporus to the table, a wooden bit between his teeth to protect your tongue, Xenophon murmurs. The first procedures target his face, narrowing his nose, elevating his cheekbones, reshaping his brow to match Poppaea's delicate features. Each cut erases more of Sporus, bringing her closer. Hours pass in a haze of pain. The surgeons work in shifts, their hands steady despite the blasphemy. Nero calls out corrections, her eyes tilted upward. "Fix that." Sporus convulses against the straps, silenced by the bit. The surgeons mutter about blood loss, working to keep him alive. He survives, barely. The procedures stretch over days, each more invasive. They sculpt his body to mimic feminine curves, using Eastern techniques that push medicine into madness. Between sessions, Sporus lies in a recovery chamber, fed broths and medicines. The pain is constant, shifting from unbearable to agonizing. Slaves tend his wounds, some whispering apologies when Nero isn't near. "Will I die?" Sporus asks an elderly woman. "Death would be a mercy," she replies. "You're becoming something else." Nero visits daily, bringing Poppaea's jewelry, perfumes, clothes. He makes Sporus wear them, practice her gestures, mimic her laugh. "You're learning," he says, his voice sick with satisfaction. "Soon you'll be perfect." The Emperor's delusion grows, his tenderness chilling. "Does it frighten you, what's to come?" he asks. Sporus replies carefully, "I live to serve Caesar's will." Nero traces his lips. She was clever, too. You learn her laugh, her walk, everything. The boy he was fades with each lesson, replaced by a performance he can't escape. Rome whispers despite. The secrecy. Servants talk, guards gossip, surgeons let details slip over wine. The Senate receives cryptic announcements about a divine transformation, and they know what it means. Senator Thracia gathers allies in a private villa. He's reshaping a boy into his dead wife, he says. This is an affront to the gods. His colleague replies bitterly, and we'll applaud, because the alternative is the arena. They all remember Nero's spectacles. Noble children fighting, Christians burning. Resistance is death. Back in the palace, the transformation continues. The surgeons refine Sporus's face, erasing the last traces of the boy from Corinth. They soften his skin, lighten it to match Poppaea's pallor. Each day, he looks less like himself, more like a ghost. The psychological torment is worse. Nero demands Sporus learn Poppaea's mannerisms, her walk, her laugh, her way of holding a wine cup. Hours are spent before mirrors, Nero correcting every flaw. No, she tilted her head when amused. Like this. Sporus complies, his body aching, his mind fraying. He studies her poems, her opinions, her cadences, becoming her or dying in the attempt. The night before the final facial surgery, Sporus sees himself in a bronze mirror. The reflection isn't male or female, isn't him or Poppaea, just something in between, crafted by madness. There's no return after this, Xenophon tells his assistants. The final surgery is grueling, perfecting the lips and eyes, erasing Sporus entirely. When the bandages come off, even he doesn't recognize the face. Nero is ecstatic. She's almost here. he whispers, tracing the alterations with tenderness that chills the room. But the transformation isn't just physical. Nero demands endless. Rehearsals, Poppaea's walk, her prayers, her gestures. Mirrors multiply his image, each reflection a reminder of what he's lost. Again, Nero commands. The hips must sway like water. Sporus crosses the marble floor, phantom pains lingering. Nero adjusts his posture. She was an empress. Back proud. Sporus lies. Yes, my love, the fountain sparkled that day. The words ash in. His mouth, but they keep Nero's wrath at bay. This obsession didn't come from nowhere. Long before Sporus, Nero was testing the limits of reality in the arena. And that's where we need to go next. To understand how he learned to bend Rome to his will. Picture the Circus Maximus in 64 AD, before the Great Fire, before Poppaea's death, when Nero's quirks still seem survivable. The stands are packed, senators in shaded boxes, convincing themselves they've handled worse emperors. The gates open, and Nero steps out, not in robes but in a lion pelt, bronze claws on his fingers, his face painted in savage patterns. He crouches, growling, his eyes wild. Release the first group, he commands. 5 prisoners stumble into the sunlight, unarmed, their crimes irrelevant. This isn't justice, it's theater. Nero stalks them, moving like a predator he's studied. He catches the first near the eastern wall, claws raking flesh just enough to draw screams. See how the lion takes his prey, he calls. Natural, pure. The crowd splits. Some cheer, knowing it's expected. Others sit frozen, watching their emperor crawl through the dirt. Senator Petronius whispers. He believes he's the beast. Quiet, his colleague hisses, unless you want to join them. The hunt continues, each capture more theatrical. Nero releases the wounded, moves to the next. His movements too perfect, rehearsed. He's watched lions, learned their strikes. The arena is his laboratory, where he tests transformation. He plays Hercules, the prisoners dressed as mythical. Beasts, forced to act or die. A nobleman, punished for criticizing Nero's singing, plays Actaeon, antlers strapped to his head, torn apart by dogs. His death proves Nero can impose any identity, any myth. The arena evolves, trapdoors, hidden passages, chambers beneath the sand. Nero emerges from nowhere, keeping prisoners guessing. Innovation, he declares. The gods must be entertained. The hunts grow narrative, personal. Marcus the baker, you cheated on grain weights. Feel imperial justice. The crowd learns to fear specificity. Anyone could be next. Nero's costumes multiply. Lions, bears, mythical creatures like Cerberus. He inhabits them, moves like them, thinks like them. The line between performance and delusion blurs. Some prisoners fight back, and Nero laughs, weaving it into the act. See how the prey fights? Nature itself. He's conditioning Rome, teaching them to accept the impossible, preparing them for Sporus. The horror escalates in Nero's gardens after the Great Fire of 64 AD. Rome's elite are summoned to a banquet, the setting magnificent. Fountains, musicians, tables groaning with delicacies. But the air smells of pitch, and tall stakes line the garden, straw at their bases. What's that smell? A senator's wife whispers. Her husband lies, just the torches, but his eyes betray the truth. Nero appears, his face painted gold, his robes Tyrian purple. Tonight, we dine with special illumination, he says, smiling. As twilight deepens, the torches go out, and the horror begins. Guards lead bound. Christians, men, women, children, placards proclaiming their crime. Christian. Nero's voice drips with mockery. These Christians burn with faith. Tonight, They become light itself. Flames climb the stakes, screams split the night. Nero narrates, "See how they illuminate our feast. Human candles." He raises his cup, and the guests follow, drinking to the screams. Their smiles rigid. A child's hymn rises through the flames, then stops. Nero laughs. Musical accompaniment. Play louder. Flutes drown the agony, and the guests eat, discussing poetry, pretending normalcy. The true terror is the normalcy. Nero makes atrocity ambience, and the elite must praise it. The light is practical, one matron says. One could see the food clearly. Her companion agrees. The emperor's innovation knows no bounds. They critique the flames, judge the screams, anything to please Nero. A boy asks, "Why are they burning people, father?" The room freezes. "Because the emperor wills it," the father says, "and his will is divine." Horror becomes routine. Human torches as natural as oil lamps. The guests stumble home, reeking of smoke and shame, praying to gods who seem absent. Nero has learned complicity is stronger than fear, and he's ready to push it further. That push comes with the nobility's degradation. A masterclass in shame that sets the stage for Sporus' transformation. It's 65 AD, after Poppaea's death, and Nero's deflecting blame for the fire by burning Christians and breaking spirits. The nobility, Rome's proud elite, think their lineage protects them. Nero proves them wrong. He invites their children to the arena, not to watch, but to perform. Claudia, a consul's daughter, stands on blood-soaked sand, a gladiator's sword trembling in her hands. Across from her, a seasoned fighter circles. "Fight!" Nero commands, his hand on her father's shoulder, a gentle threat. Consul Marcellus grips his seat, his jaw clenched. Claudia screams, dodges clumsily, the sword too heavy for her delicate hands. The crowd roars with horror. This could be their daughter. The gladiator cuts her shoulder, drawing blood. Marcellus whispers, "Take me instead." Nero smiles. "You need to understand. Your birth means nothing. Only my will matters. The fight isn't about death, it's about shame." The gladiator toys with Claudia, making her beg, cry, crumble. Nero stops it, saying, "She's learned today's lesson. Tomorrow, her education continues." Claudia is dragged. Off, alive but broken, her father permitted a brief visit to whisper apologies. Tomorrow, she'll fight again, learning or dying. Nero's new sport is noble children in the arena, educated through humiliation. Some survive, adapting through brutality. Others break or die. All serve his purpose. "Birth is an accident," he tells the nobles, "but survival is my choice." The humiliation spreads. Senators' wives perform in Nero's plays, their enthusiasm mandatory. Noble daughters become living statues at banquets, painted gold, holding wine jugs while their fathers dine, pretending not to see. Art requires sacrifice, Nero says. What greater art than turning pride into beauty? The worst is the complicity. Nero never commands. He suggests, and the suggestion carries. Death's weight. Families compete for roles. Thank him for the honor. Senator Marcus watches his daughter dance. Her movements flawless, trained by professionals. Colleagues compliment her, and he thanks them, dying inside. Senator Thracia tries to resist, skipping an event. Days later, his nephew is found dead. The message clear. Participation is mandatory. The final degradation comes. Before the wedding announcement, Nero hosts a banquet where every server is noble-born. Senators' children pour wine. Consuls' wives serve food. Guests compliment the service, applauding Nero's innovation. A consul's son bows, smiling as Nero says, "You found your true calling." His father claps, his resistance dead. They'll accept anything now, even a boy as an empress. The transactions begin, noble youth becoming currency. Senator Quintus hands over his daughter, Julia, to a freedman for 30 gold coins, assuring her skills in the pleasant arts. Julia stands, silent, knowing tears will cost her brother's life. Cultural exchange, Nero calls it, framing it as diplomacy. The nobility speak in euphemisms, artistic collaboration, while their children disappear. Consul's twins are auctioned for 200 aurei, their father praising their dancing. Families who hide their children face exile or worse. The Flavius family refuses within a week. Their son is gone, and they serve wine as if he never existed. The auctions are public, Nero presiding. The consul's daughter, trained in Alexandria. Pulpit, hands rise, the girl fights tears. Her father stone-faced. Some children adapt, marketing themselves. "I'm worth more," one boy tells his parents. "I can bring better prices." His mother weeps, his father nods. Foreign buyers take their acquisitions, their gold buying survival for those left behind. Now, the wedding approaches, and the palace is a hive of preparation. Sporus sits in a chamber surrounded by Poppaea's relics, her jewelry, perfumes, cosmetic jars. Slaves apply her cosmetics with ritual precision, the eldest whispering, 3 strokes of coal, never 4. Sporus' own voice is gone, replaced by Poppaea's. Cadences. His hair, dyed to match hers, is styled as she wore it for her wedding. The dress arrives, Syrian silk, purple beyond purple, the gown Poppaea wore before she died. It fits perfectly, his body was carved for it. Jewels follow, emeralds, pearls, gold. This necklace, a slave says, she wore to the harvest festival. The weight is heavy, the pearls like nooses. Sporus has learned to move as she did, but feeling it is impossible. The slaves whisper, "Almost perfect." Nero enters. His wedding robes is shimmering, his face painted gold. "Perfect," he breathes, circling Sporus. "She's returned." Sporus responds in her voice, "My lord, I've missed you." Nero's joy is terrifying. He believes it completely. The Senate receives invitations, sealed with Nero's wax. The divine emperor commands your presence at the sacred union between himself and Poppaea Sabina, restored through imperial will. Senator Thracia reads it, his hand shaking. He plans to marry a boy and call him his dead wife, he says, and we must pretend to believe. Across Rome, senators prepare, their wives coaching their children. Call the bride Empress Poppaea. Merchants profit, selling Poppaea's perfumes, jewelers crafting her style. It's like a funeral, one matron says, mourning sanity itself. The night before, Thracia gathers his household. Tomorrow, we enter a world where madness rules, where boys become empresses. But we survive, his wife asks. And if we forget the truth, he has no answer. The palace is alive, hammers ringing, musicians rehearsing. Nero demands funds, and the nobility pay in their children's service. "I need attendance," he says. Pure Roman blood. Families offer their children because refusal means death. Sporus performs Poppaea's rituals, her prayers, her beauty routine. Nero leads him toward the throne room, whispering memories. "You wore white roses," he says. Sporus lies. "I remember, my love." The corridors are lined with guards and terrified nobility, their faces masks of horror. They see Sporus, know him, but see Poppaea too, a ghost made real. The bronze doors open, revealing 300 senators, their applause synchronized by fear. The throne room is a masterpiece. Purple silk, ceremonial flames, incense thick in the air. Nero leads Sporus onto the platform, his steps theatrical. Behold, the power of divine will. Poppaea returned. The applause grows desperate. Sporus glides between flames, his altered body moving with Poppaea's grace. The dress catching light, jewels blazing. Even the senators see her for a moment. Not Sporus, but the empress. She's beautiful, Senator Flavius whispers, his voice staged. More radiant than ever. They play the game, validating the lie to survive. The ceremony is grotesque in its normalcy. The augur reads favorable omens. The sacred flame is lit. Vows are spoken. Nero's voice trembles with emotion as he pledges eternal love. Sporus responds, I take you, Nero Augustus, in this life and beyond. Nero hears his wife, his face glowing. The kiss seals the vow, and the Senate understands. Sanity is treason. The throne room transforms into a banquet hall, tables laden with delicacies, wine flowing. Sporus sits as the empress, moving with her grace, responding to Nero's whispers with her smile. The illusion is flawless, terrifying. Nero introduces him to senators who knew Poppaea, forcing them to play along. You remember Senator Marcus, he says. Sporus extends a hand. You said I move like Diana. Marcus kisses it, feels the altered flesh, forces a smile. My lady, more lovely than ever. Each interaction buries the truth deeper. The feast is a performance. Every senator an actor. They compliment the empress, their voices steady, their hearts racing. Nero watches, searching for doubt. Senator Otho, Poppaea's first husband, is called forward. Does she not look divine? Nero asks. Otho looks at Sporus, sees the resemblance. A miracle, Caesar, he says, his voice hollow. The senators learn to see what Nero sees, because the alternative is death. Sporus plays his role, but his eyes scream for escape. He laughs at Nero's jokes, recites her opinions, each word burying the boy he was. Nero dances with him, spinning him through the hall, calling out memories. Remember the stars from the Palatine? Sporus nods. You said they paled beside my eyes. The senators clap, their applause a plea for survival. Thracia grips his cup, his wife whispering, smile, or we're next. He joins the applause, his soul fracturing. The morning after, Rome is silent, holding its breath. Senators return to their villas, their togas stained. With memory, they call the boy Poppaea, validated Nero's madness. Thracia stares at the invitation, his wife asking, what now? We survive, he says, the word ash in his mouth. Sporus lives in a gilded cage. Poppaea's chambers his prison. Nero visits, speaking to him as her, recounting memories. Remember the Tiber? Sporus lies. You carried me across the stones. Nero's mides, oblivious. Sporus wears her clothes, uses her cosmetics, moves as she did. The slaves avoid his eyes, their pity heavy. Forgive us, one whispers. We had no choice. Neither does Sporus. Failure means death for him and others. Nero's obsession consumes the palace. State business halts, Senate meetings ignored. He spends hours with Sporus, perfecting her laugh. Her walk. She was lighter, he says. Sporus complies, his throat raw, his mind fraying. The palace staff address him as empress, reinforcing the lie. Rome whispers of the wedding. Stories growing wilder, sorcery, divine madness. The Senate meets in secret, their voices low. He's cheated death, Petronius says. What's next? No one answers. They've seen noble children fight. Christians burn, families auctioned. The wedding is the latest escalation, a line crossed. Senator Puss tries to avoid palace events, claiming illness. Nero sends a physician. The emperor hopes. You're not unwell. Puss attends the next banquet, his face loyal. Sporus's life is a cycle of performance and pain. He wakes to slaves painting his face, dressing him in her gowns. Nero brings gifts, jewels, poems, expecting Poppaea's responses. You love this necklace, he says. Sporus agrees, his words empty. He catches his reflection, sees Poppaea, wonders if he'll forget his own name. Forgetting would be a mercy, a slave says. Remembering drives you mad. The nobility's complicity deepens. They organize Nero's spectacles, fund them, participate. Tigellinus oversees auctions. Noble youth paraded like livestock. It's for Rome, he lies. A senator hands over his daughter, praising her skills. She smiles, knowing it saves her brother. Foreign buyers take their acquisitions. Gold buying safety. Sporus is the centerpiece, paraded as Poppaea at festivals, senate meetings. The people cheer, drawn to the spectacle. Temples empty, faith faltering, replaced by Nero's cult. The nobility are shells, their children auctioned, their souls eroded. Thracia hosts a banquet, his nephew gone, his daughter serving wine. He toasts Nero, his hands shaking. We're surviving, he tells his wife, but survival means erasing truth. The final act is quiet, not rebellion, but resignation. Sporus lives as Poppaea, his every moment a performance. Nero parades him, presents him at chariot races, calls him empress. The stories grow. Sporus is a god, a demon, a miracle. The Senate whispers of rebellion, but Nero's spies are everywhere. Petronius writes, he's killed truth itself and vanishes, his family pretending he never existed. Sporus feels the weight, his performance perfect, but his spirit crumbling. He dreams of Corinth, but the dreams fade, replaced by Poppaea's life. One night, he stares into a mirror, searching for himself. The reflection shows Poppaea, lifeless. Who am I? He whispers. No one answers. Nero declares himself a god, demands worship, and the Senate complies, building altars. Sporus remains at his side, a boy who's forgotten his name, a city that's forgotten its soul. This is Nero's legacy, a Rome where truth died, where a boy became a ghost, where madness became law. The senators survived, but at what cost? They applauded, lied, erased themselves. Sporus lived, but as someone else, his identity a casualty of Nero's will. Rome endured, but it was never the same. Thanks for joining us on WTF History. This story is a reminder of what happens when power knows no limits, when delusion demands belief. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment. What's the craziest historical story you've ever heard? Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and stay curious.